Hi everyone, it's Margaret Manning here, and welcome to Mornings with 60 and Me. Today is Saturday, it's August the 6th. So welcome to Saturday, welcome to the weekend. Hope you've got something really fun planned for yourself in the next few days. I want to first of all welcome you all for being here, and especially for those who are joining for the first time. Just so you know, 60 and Me is a community of women over 60 in 150 countries all around the world, and we get together every morning to have a cup of tea and just chat about what's going on in the world, to give us a sense that we're not alone in this crazy world and that there's lots of positive things to be celebrating together. So thank you for being here. And if you've got a friend that you'd like to invite to join us every morning, please point them to 60andme.com/mornings. And you can go up there too and sign up to receive these news bulletins first. So here we are, Saturday. The world is continuing on its very strange and wonderful path, but a couple of highlights. And of course, the big news all around the world is the Olympics. The opening ceremonies were last night in Rio. 3 billion people watched, and I watched some of it. It was quite late here in Switzerland, but it was just remarkable. Very colorful, upbeat. It's the carnival capital, Rio. So it just really put its heart and soul into the opening. Couple of the highlights, the supermodel Giselle Bundchen walked the whole length of the stadium to the tune of the girl from Ipanema, and of course she's beautiful, and it was a very symbolic and evocative moment because that song really put Brazil on the map years and years ago. So I saw an interesting story yesterday though about the woman who inspired that song, and it's a real person. She lived in Ipanema. And these two songwriters and producers saw her walking every day and wrote this song, which became a sort of a worldwide hit. And there's no one who doesn't know the words. I mean, you just sing along. It's a beautiful song. But they interviewed this lady who had been the inspiration, and she's now 71. Her name is Helo Pinheiro. And she's 71, and she's a grandmother, and she's gorgeous, and of course full of life and vitality, just like a lot of the women in our 60MA community. We all have our things to remember of our past, and she was talking so heartfully about the time in her life and the fact she's now grandmother, 71, and still enjoying life. So that was a nice moment, and maybe she was there in the audience. She probably was. So, the opening ceremonies tried to blend, of course, the celebration of sport with the theme that ran through the evening, which was a green city, trying to make the Olympics bring Rio into a new dimension as a green, modern, forward-thinking place. And there's a commitment that all the athletes, 10,000, will plant a tree in an athlete's forest after the games. There were some protests after the opening ceremonies in the streets. People very unhappy with the money that was spent on the Olympics, although it was a lot less than other countries have spent. They still have big economic and political challenges, and so there was some demonstrations afterwards. But on the whole, a great opening. So let the games begin. I think we've got 3 weeks now of activity and lots of drama, I am sure. Some fantastic sport. So the next thing to report is back to Syria, because this is such an important story for me. I think that it represents a moment in humanity for me that is a significant opportunity. There was an interview yesterday with a gentleman who's an official with the UN who's taking this to Geneva today, to the UN, to basically ask for 3 things. One is a 48-hour ceasefire so that all sides stop fighting and we can get people in and out of the city. And the second thing, of course, is to get humanitarian aid into Aleppo. Aleppo is, still got 300,000 individuals, citizens, children, and it's just one of those moments where we have to do something. The second thing is to get humanitarian aid in. And then the third thing is to get people out, people who want to leave the city. So that's the news from Syria. And I don't mean to go on about it every day, but I just think it's one of those stories we need to have in our minds. And it's important to the whole world. There's so many pivots around Syria. In the United States, the news yesterday was that Donald Trump has finally endorsed House Speaker Paul Ryan, and unifying or trying to unify the Republican Party, which is having like it's everyone goes through these moments in the election run up. So they're now trying to pull together, and that's the news from the election front there in the United States. And in South Africa, the ANC party, which we've talked about as the current ruling party, the party Nelson Mandela started many years ago when a democratic South Africa was formed, has lost many cities in this election underway now. And they probably will remain in power, but it's a sign that people in South Africa, like so many people in the world, want a fair life. They want a good life, opportunity, and they want corruption to be dealt with. They just want to have, a positive life with their families and their children. So let's hope that things smooth out there, and everyone moves to a positive outcome. Now, a couple of stories that might be of interest, and they're kind of related to some things we've been talking about recently with sustainability and the future of our planet. And I listened to an interview with a gentleman yesterday who is a scientist working with, of all things, bees. And, you see these little bees buzzing around in the summer, and to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of bees. I'm kind of allergic to them. I break out in a rash when I'm stung by wasps and bees. But it turns out they are probably the most important species on our planet. And he was quoting Einstein, who said that if all the bees went from our Earth, for some reason they disappeared, humanity would have 4 days to survive. Now, whether this is an accurate quote or whatever, but the fact is that we depend on bees to pollinate most of the plants that we eat. I mean, the food that we eat. And they also, which is very important, pollinate trees and plants that form like the ecosystem around our plants that we eat. So they don't not only help us, with the food that we consume personally, but they keep the world going. And over the last few years, the bee population around the world has been dropping. And I mean, dropping dramatically. In the United States, he said that the U.S. loses 30 to 60% of their bee population, their bee colonies, every year. So these little bees are struggling with two things. One is the habitat. We're building homes and buildings and taking over the wildlife. We're taking over the nature with our expansion. And then the second is pesticides. And this is a complicated and very difficult topic because there's not a lot of money for research on this, and a lot of the research is funded by people that really don't have a vested interest in doing anything. So we're not getting too political about it. Our little bees need our help. So it's just an interesting be aware, did you know story. And next time you see a bee, give it a virtual hug. Don't hug it really. But, just appreciate nature and how we have to work in harmony and find our place in the world together. So one more quick article that I promised you yesterday. And this was yesterday, the question for you, if you remember, was what was the one thing you were going to say yes to in your life? And I asked you to be a yes person yesterday. But today I wanted to talk about the magical power of saying no. And I'll put the link to the article because this woman tells a very good story about her evolution from a yes person to a no person and how it helped her. But the basic point here is that by saying no to people who are asking for your time, for your help, for your money, for your input, feedback, it's okay to say yes if you want, but it's also important to know how and when to say no. Personally, I mean, I've written about this a lot in 60andMe. I was always had been a good girl. I've always been positive, said yes to everyone, taken on lots of responsibilities that perhaps I shouldn't have for others. And I think a lot of women in our community can relate to this. We've been maybe said yes to our husbands, to our families, to our kids, to friends, in a responsive way that we didn't think through, that we really didn't want to do these things, but we said yes anyway. We were good girls. We were yes girls. And so this article really is about the power that knowing yourself well enough to say no is the foundation for all the yeses. That once you know what you don't want to do, then you can say yes to those that you do. And so I think that's really powerful. It gives you energy and control over your life to just occasionally say no. Now, I think that this is probably a controversial topic, and I'd love to have your feedback on this. So please leave your comments on the section below. Whether you feel perhaps you have been too much on the yes side in your life and you'd like to say no to a few things, or whether it's the other way around. So let's have a conversation about this. I think it gets to the heart, in my opinion, of 60-year-old women. I really do. I think that there's a lot of self-confidence and self-determination that is there for us in our 60s. We can start rebuilding our lives on our terms, the way that we want to live. So that's my question for you today about no, but I have another final point, and today is celebrating Root Beer Day. Yeah, it's Root Beer Float Day, actually. Do any of you remember A&W root beer? Now, if you lived in the States, hands up. I know you'll remember this because I lived in that time period where I lived in Detroit, and we had an A&W down the road, and we used to spend all our time there in our cars, talking with friends and ordering root beer in those great big mugs. Do you remember? And I can remember that there were girls that used to work there wearing roller skates. And they used to come out to the car on their roller skates and with the wheels, and take your order and then wheel back out. And I just wondered, do we have any women in our community who did that for their first or second job? And do you remember root beer floats? Do you like them? So anyway, go out and have a root beer float today if you can find one, and enjoy the memory, good memory. So, in terms of a question for you today, but before I do that, I must say, don't forget to go sign up for these mornings with 60andMe and tell a friend at 60andme.com/mornings. Really appreciate your support. But for today, our question. I would like, because it's Saturday and it's a weekend, just to try something a little different. I am going to be taking a train journey in a couple of weeks, a fairly long journey, and I would like a book to read. So could you please, in the comment section below, give me a recommendation for a summer book, for summer reading. I have just started, by the way, reading a book called The Muse by Jessie Burton. I am loving it. I'm going everywhere around the town, walking with my headphones on, listening. I can't stop. It's really good. I don't know whether you've read that or if anyone has read her other book called The Minimalist, which was also excellent. But anyway, my question for you is, what is your book recommendation for summer reading? Thanks everyone for being here. I hope you have a really great Saturday, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow on Mornings with 60andMe. Thanks everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.